Hello, welcome to another F1 fantasy video. My name is Tom, and in this video, I'll be talking about, well, F1 fantasy, but more specifically, I'm going to be talking about kind of a mid-season review because we are actually at the halfway point of the season. We've had 11 races. There's only 22 races. I say only, that's still quite a lot. There are 22 races in the season. We're halfway through, so let's just take a moment to collect our thoughts before we attack the second half of the season because we've had a lot of racing, a lot of information. These are brand new cars that we've been dealing with this season, and we've gathered a lot of information. It's time to try and just try and settle our minds a little bit and work out what are the best strategies going forward. Where is the value? So I'm hoping that this video is going to kind of just do that, kind of a bit of a reset button to try and clear our minds from all the madness that's happened, because it's been, as usual in F1, absolute chaos going every other race pretty much. So first things first, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's still watching. If you are still watching, you've been watching me since the beginning of the season, either I'm doing something right or you're doing something wrong, but for whatever reason, thank you very much for watching it. It means a lot that people are actually interested in listening to me talk. So yeah, great. Don't know why, but there you go, you are. So thanks for watching. And also look at the league. This is from Austria. We're up to second place again for average points in Austria. I'm guessing because quite a lot of you used a Mega Driver option. However, I don't know how the people in F0 here, average points in that league of 153 people was 362. It's like, did everyone in that league use the Mega Driver? Literally everyone. But regardless, we're doing well again. Back in the big leagues here on the main page of the F1 Fantasy website. It's always good to see. So in this video, it's going to be a long one. So yeah, saddle up sort of thing. I'm going to go through kind of categorically what, rather than just waffle endlessly, which is I have a tendency of doing. I'm going to kind of break it down into some certain categories. So the categories are as follows. I'm going to have Red Bull versus Ferrari because I think the main points in F1 Fantasy come from the big teams, and the two big teams this season are undeniably Ferrari and Red Bull. So we're going to kind of look at who we want to pick more, who we want to go more heavy on, who do we trust more, etc., etc. So that's going to be the first thing I'm going to look at. I'm also going to be looking at the third and fourth best teams because, like I've just said, the points come from the big teams. And after we've looked at teams 1 and 2, I want to look at teams 3 and 4. And those you can't really question that. I don't think that the team 3 is Mercedes, team 4 is currently Alpine. Alpine are really in the ascendancy, so I want to have a look at them to see if they're worth kind of just using in our teams. Another thing I want to talk about is DNFs. DNF pain, I might class it as, because DNFs are painful. And yeah, I just want to kind of touch on the power of avoiding DNFs basically. Want to have a look at kind of where the value is, just have a look at kind of the value drivers, just kind of general look at the statistics on my spreadsheet just to see where points per million are, that sort of thing. I'm going to have a look at the predicting qualifying thing. For those of you that don't know, every week I take the practice session times, the best times for each driver from each practice session, FP1, FP2, FP3, average it out and then rank all the drivers according to their rank, basically according to their average times, and then see how that corresponds or correlates to the actual qualifying position. And then we can work out, it kind of gives us an idea of who is predictable, like who's going to be predictable basically, and give us an idea of who might be a good pick for the team for that week, and just see how that's going. Because I'm not saying it's some master plan that's going to predict qualifying every single time, because it's not, but it'll be interesting to see who's accurate. And then even if you don't look at my spreadsheet before the deadline, you will still have in mind like, oh, this driver is super consistent going from practice into qualifying. So, and if he like pops up in P4 or whatever after practice sessions, and maybe you want to pick him. So yeah, we're going to have a look at the predicting and qualifying. The last couple of subjects I told you it's going to be a long video. The last couple of subjects I want to talk about are market talk, just kind of a general talk about how the market is at the moment in terms of the driver sentiments, how the prices are changing, because that has also been absolute chaos this year. And just my general thoughts on that. And then finally, eventually, at some point later tonight, we'll be getting on to the Twitter questions, where I've got like 4 or 5 questions that people have asked me over the last couple of days, so I'm just going to answer them. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's get straight into it. We're going to go into the spreadsheet. Here we go, the spreadsheet. And we're going to talk about Ferrari versus Red Bull, because, what can we do about picking, how do we know who the best pick is at the moment? Before I get into this, let's have a quick look at my team. This is my current team at the moment. You can see I'm quite heavy on Red Bull because I just put the Mega Driver on Verstappen. But going forward, obviously, this current build is specific to the Mega Driver, and although I kind of like it just as it is, to be honest, it still doesn't cover like the best teams as much as it could. For example, I'm just going to give you a quick example. If we got rid of Verstappen, we can afford to bring in Perez, and then Latifi, for example, can become Carlos Sainz. And you can have a kind of a template team looking like this with 1, 2, 3, 4 slots taken up by the best teams, and you have like one mid-price driver in Alpine and then a budget driver like Magnussen or Schumacher or something like that. So basically, do we want to go heavy on the Ferraris? Do we want to go heavy on the Red Bulls? First thing in order to answer that question is the points. Where are the points? You can quite clearly see that Red Bull are bringing in more points per race. You can see up here in this column, 58 points per race on average across the season. Obviously, this incorporates all the DNFs. It incorporates all the first place, second place. Everything is included in these figures. So 58 points per race. Red Bull are head and shoulders above everyone. So that immediately makes me think I want Red Bull, basically. Ferrari, who I'm sort of comparing them to, obviously cheaper, but they're only producing 49 points per race. I think a lot of that is due to their reliability issues, and that is a big factor in picking between Ferrari and Red Bull. And I think, in my opinion, just about Red Bull are edging it still because of the reliability. Even though Ferrari enable us to get more value into our team, so to speak, as by having them as a constructor only costing 25 million compared to the 32 of the Red Bull. I just think that the Ferraris, the fact that they've DNF'd several times, both, it's just unpredictable. We saw in Austria just now, Carlos Sainz, Ferrari looking pretty good for a 1-2. They would have picked up their race streak, and everyone with Ferrari constructor would have looking happy. And then the DNF comes along, and the Ferrari engine is clearly having issues. There's problems with the Alfa Romeos. We've seen repeated Alfa Romeo issues, and they've got the Ferrari engine. We've seen quite a few engine issues with the Hases. Magnussen stated in an interview after Austria, the race just gone, that he was dealing with an engine problem that could have caused a DNF, but luckily he got away with it, sort of thing. So obviously all the Magnussen owners out there, including myself, are very relieved that he got through the race. But it is a constant worry, and I'm just, I feel a lot more comfortable going into a race with heavier on the Red Bull than I am on Ferrari, despite the Red Bulls costing more. So and also you got the Max Verstappen factor, and I know you could argue, there's the Charles Leclerc factor, but again, if we scroll down to the actual driver values down here, Max Verstappen averaging 37 points per race, also head and shoulders above everyone else. Second place, there is Charles Leclerc, fair enough, but Verstappen's still averaging across the season 5 points more per race, and I just think Verstappen's just getting stronger and stronger. And I know the Red Bull didn't do super well during the race in Austria, but that's one race, and I think we'll see a bit of a comeback in France. But yeah, I do think that there is this Verstappen factor. So that's why part of me actually kind of makes me think that the build I had, if we just come out of this team and go back to what I had originally, a team like this kind of makes me feel like doubling up on Verstappen is an option going forward. I'm not convinced by it, and there are several avenues I'm looking at, but the max factor is a real factor. I'm honestly, I do think it's worth considering doubling up on Red Bull, just because, everyone's saying like, oh, it's worth Red Bull to cover Verstappen, but why just cover Verstappen when you can maximize, excuse the pun, max Verstappen, so by doubling up on him. And it worked really well, obviously, as the mega driver option in Austria, because, apart from the fact he didn't win the race, he came second, but still got good solid amount of points from him. And is doubling up on Red Bull / Max better than doubling up on Red Bull / Perez? I mean, Perez is still doing well, and I wouldn't rule him out, but there is definitely that max factor, which I'm kind of interested in to see how that goes further along the season. So to summarise this incredibly long-winded explanation of Ferrari versus Red Bull, I would say I favour Red Bull, and if I was going to go for like a potential triple up, well, I'm not sure how feasible that is, but if I'd be looking more at going heavy on Red Bull than I am going heavy on Ferrari, and mainly because of the reliability, also because of just general race pace and that max factor. But I do think Red Bull, when you look at the points they're bringing in on average per race, and I think with our budgets growing as well, bear in mind, think back to the beginning of the season, most of us have probably got 5, 6, 7, or maybe even more million budget, and we can then, that basically accounts for the difference. Excuse me, that sort of 6, 7 million budget that you've grown from the beginning of the season kind of accounts for the difference between Ferrari and Red Bull. So yes, at the beginning of the season, Ferrari were 100% probably the right pick, but right now I'm seeing like Red Bull with the budgets. I think it's getting much easier to squeeze in, and I think we're going to see a lot more Max Verstappen ownership sort of in the foreseeable future as the budgets continue to grow, and he just becomes easier to slot in, and it's less of a compromise. So yeah, anyway, we'll move on to the next section because I feel like this is going to be like a 6-hour video. So let's move on. We'll talk about Mercedes and Alpine because Mercedes and Alpine are clearly, in my opinion, the third and fourth best team. I don't think it's even my opinion, to be honest. I think all the data that there is out there to look at show that Mercedes definitely the third best team, and Alpine, especially recently, have proven to be the fourth best team. And, do we want their assets, basically? Let's go through the assets quickly. Lewis Hamilton down here, producing less than 1 point per million per race. He's just way too expensive. Unless he's on like a double streak, and unless Mercedes continue this upwards trajectory, which, let's face it, the last couple of races, ever since Spain, and then, Spain was really great, and then a little bit of a dip, and the last couple of races, they've really come back into it. Looking really strong, the Mercedes. Closing that gap ever more to the Red Bulls and Ferraris. The Red Bulls and Ferraris continue to sort of trying to inch in front of each other, and the Mercedes are coming up a bit quicker because there's a bigger gap, and I don't know, it's just, I guess the Ferraris and Red Bulls in terms of development may have plateaued slightly, whereas the Mercedes have still got that big jump to try and catch them up, and we are seeing the Mercedes come back a little bit. So, but Hamilton, I wouldn't pick him personally unless he was on a double race streak, and then I'd consider it, but not at the moment for sure. Russell's been an interesting one throughout the season. He's only had that one DNF in Silverstone who happened to be in my team at the time. But Russell's just super consistent. You can see, in fact, points per race across the season. He's actually in third place. Is that right? Am I reading that right? I am reading that right, aren't I? Out of the entire grid, he's third for points per race. So that's great. In total points, 312. So he's really bringing in a lot of points, basically. The problem is he costs a lot more. But again, as our budgets are growing, are we going to see George Russell get into more teams? I can show you a quick build. We could be looking at, for example, dropping Max Verstappen, and then you can upgrade someone like the Latifi, for example, get a couple of the Alpine lads in there. You could go for a team that looks like this. Actually, doesn't look awful. We could also keep 2 budget drivers instead. Go for someone like Schumacher if you want to double up on Haas. And then you could upgrade Alonso into someone like Sergio Perez, and this way you get like coverage on Verstappen, Red Bull. You get Perez and Leclerc, easy turbo driver. George Russell, who's just Mr. Consistent, and then a couple of budgets of your choice, basically. So we could start seeing teams like this proven to be better value again because of that reliability. The Mercedes is just super reliable. The engine is just like it's perfect compared to the likes of Ferrari, which is like driving around with a toaster in the back of your car. So yeah, we could start seeing teams looking a bit like that. I do think George Russell is a good option. I'm still hesitant to put him in because of his price bracket and how much it impacts the rest of the team. But as I've just shown, as the budgets continue to grow, Russell starts to get more in there. We can't turbo drive him, obviously, but in that team I just showed, you got Perez, you got Leclerc, you don't need to turbo drive anyone else. So yeah, I do think Russell is going to start edging into a few teams for sure. The fourth best team, in my opinion, Alpine, similar sort of trajectory to Mercedes, are really climbing up. They started the season kind of fine, kind of in that midfield, like competitive, but not great. And the last few races, the Alpines have just gone pew, like they've stuck some upgrades onto their cars, really, really improved. Ocon has proved incredibly consistent throughout the season so far. Alonso would have been matching him if he hadn't been unlucky on several races. I do think the Alpines are just great value at the moment. In fact, I would go as far to say that the Alpines are basically like Lando Norris of last year. If we scroll across and look at last year's performances, Lando Norris was the most valuable driver coming in that price bracket of around the 13 million mark. And then the Alpine drivers this year are also coming in at that 13 million mark. Not quite as good value. In fact, let's look at the value points per million at the moment. What sort of around 1.3, and Alonso, like I say, should be higher than that, but he's had some bad luck. So Ocon coming in at 1.3. I can't believe that's only 1.3, but it is 1.3. So I do think that's going to improve. We're going to see the points per race for Ocon continue to sort of climb on average. And I think if in that midfield, if you got that sort of mid-price slot you want in your team, I would 100% be going for someone like Alpine. I don't see the need to go for someone like Norris. There might be the odd race where I do think it'll be appropriate for Norris over someone like that. But obviously it depends on budget and who else is in your team and everything. It's quite a lot of dependencies and lots of variables. But overall, I do think that one of the Alpine drivers, for me personally, I would pick Ocon. Going into the next race, I think I'm kind of maybe a bit stuck with Alonso, depending on what team I go with, because I would only have the 3 subs, and I'd basically I wouldn't have the luxury of going from kind of sideways from Alonso to Ocon. So I'm happy to keep Alonso for the next race if I go that way. But yeah, going forward, Alpine's definitely the fourth best team for me. Yeah, I think they're just offering fantastic value. Let's talk about DNFs because they hurt. and I want to have a quick look at the last few races. Let's have a quick look at the last few races and see what happens to the people at DNF. So bear in mind this is a sprint race, so you're going to get more points in the sprint race across the weekend. We've got 3 DNFs here from the main race. Carlos Sainz comes away with 10 points. Latifi -7, Perez 4. Let's have a quick look at Silverstone. Bunch of DNFs here. -8, -6, -8, 1, 3, -9. These DNFs are hurting. Let's just pick another random race. Monaco, -6, -8, -7, -5. Let's pick Baku. I want to pick on Baku because I kind of want to focus on the how much the DNFs really hurt. And I think Baku kind of shows exactly how much they hurt. If you think back to Baku, sorry all the triple Ferrari owners back then, but Leclerc and Sainz both DNF'd. -10 points. You think, damn, they're DNF, -10 points. But actually, it's not -10 points. Look who came like first, second, and third. We're looking at 50, almost 40, 30, 20. Like, these guys should have been getting 30, 40 plus points. Instead, they're getting 5 and 0. So it's not just the -10 that hurts you. It's the fact that they're not getting those big points that they deserve. So it's not the -10. It's more like a -40. It's just DNFs are so painful, and I do think if we can afford to, but given budget restrictions and performance, the ability of the performance of the car on a given weekend, I think I think reliability is a big factor in that, and that's also go back to what I said at the beginning of the video of Red Bull versus Ferrari. I do think I'd lean towards Red Bull because of that reliability. The engine just seems more reliable in general. And it's not just the engine. We've seen other problems with the Ferrari as well. Just in the last race, Leclerc with his throttle issues. So the Ferraris do worry me a little bit, and just any car in general that has any sort of DNF threat to it makes me not want to kind of go near them. With the exception of Ferrari, just because of they kind of make up for it and when they do win races. But yeah, just wanted to emphasize that DNFs are painful, and I think a big factor when you're picking your team for a weekend, try not to go too heavy. Like if you go like triple Ferrari, Magnussen and whatever, Bottas, like if you're packing those sort of they're all Ferrari engines, and I think, oh my god, can you imagine a weekend where all the Ferrari engines just blow up? It's perfectly feasible. So yeah, I think definitely a big factor. A theme from the season so far is if we can avoid the DNFs or at least minimize the impact that they're likely to have on our team, then I think that should be a factor when we pick our teams. I want to have a quick look at where the value is. Let's go back to the spreadsheet. I'm already on the spreadsheet. I've just clicked on the wrong thing. I'm going to go a quick look. In terms of value, when I look at value, I'm looking at points per million per race for sure, but I don't know. It's kind of hard to pick. It's kind of down to your interpretation. I think in terms of value this so far this season, the Ferraris are screaming value, which is why I think it's still fine to pick them in our teams despite the reliability issues. Because despite the reliability issues and despite them DNFing various races, they, like I've just said, they do make up for it when they come first, second, or whatever. And I think the Ferraris are looking very strong. Performance-wise, they're incredibly strong and arguably the best car, but that reliability issue is really pulling them back. And we look at the actual individual drivers, points per million per race. Leclerc coming in at 1.72, I believe, is the best value driver in the game at the moment, unless I'm mistaken. Bottas down at 1.67, so he's dropped down a little bit because of, again, reliability issues. So yeah, Leclerc looking really good. And the Haas boys, they're the budget options. It's kind of Williams versus Haas at the moment. Haas, the last couple of races have been phenomenal. They're even on a race streak as a constructor. Like, oh my goodness, the Haas have just suddenly picked up again. As long as they can stay out of trouble reliability-wise, I think they're a great budget option. And in particular, Schumacher, who's on the rise at the moment. The last couple of races doing really, really well. So yeah, great value coming down there, despite the fact that Schumacher's only just offering on the surface, 7 points per race is nothing great. 1.09 points per million per race, nothing great. But it's not just looking at their points now, it's looking at that trend. And the current trend for me is Haas are on the rise. So, other value, like I say, the Ferraris, best value, still scare me. And I wouldn't really touch anyone else unless Mercedes, again, kind of catch up to the Ferraris and Red Bulls. And I consider the Mercedes at some point, particularly if they're on streaks. But for me, the best pick's definitely still Ferrari and Red Bull. I'm going to kind of try and fly through the rest of this video because I feel like I've already been talking so much and I'm really hot and sweaty. I don't know if you can see it, but it's so hot here and I've got this lamp kind of like on my face a bit. So excuse me, I'm going to move on to the next section. We're going to look at predicting qualifying because this is an interesting topic. At the beginning of the season, I didn't know how this was going to turn out. I just started doing it because I thought it'd be kind of interesting and to see if it was useful basically. And it has been useful for me personally. At the beginning of every race, which isn't a sprint race because you only get one practice session, so you can't really work out based on that. So every race where there's FP1, FP2, FP3, which is going to be all the races for the rest of the season except for Brazil, I will be publishing, as long as I'm free to do so, we'll be publishing this exact sort of thing you'll see on my YouTube community page, where I'll release the hypothetical qualifying. You can see if I pick a random race, let's go Monaco, you can see how I work it out. I just take FP1, FP2, FP3, work out the average position here in this column here, average position in practice, and then rank that into the hypothetical qualifying, and then just kind of see how the practice sessions, how the ranked practice sessions translate into qualifying. So that's why I put them all on this one page so I can sort of see and keep track. And then down here, I sort of average it out. So who's the closest? So in this column here, the lower the number, the more accurate the driver. Interesting for me, Leclerc, kind of unsurprisingly, is the most accurate driver because he's very much consistently sort of going first or second in practice, and then he's qualifying first or second. So it's kind of unsurprising to see Leclerc at 0.4 here. Lando Norris, I've said this many times. I know I keep banging on about it in the past, but I'm going to say it one more time because it is it's useful. Lando Norris is the second most accurate driver, and Lando Norris, he's kind of all over the place. And McLarens are all over the place. They're unpredictable, which is why I don't want to really pick them in my teams at the moment. Particularly Ricciardo, who's just not having a good season. But Lando Norris is proven on certain tracks to be a good option. He is a little bit more expensive this season, but I do think that using this sort of model can help us predict because he's so accurate. Let's just pick some random races like the Bahrain. He was predicted on this model 14th, he comes 13th. Saudi Arabia, he's predicted 11th, he comes 11th. Let's just scroll across to another random one. Miami, where is he? Predicted 8th, comes 8th. Picked another random one. Monaco, higher up, predicted 5th, comes 5th. Let's pick one more just for argument's sake. Let's not pick Canada because it was wet. Although, where was he in Canada actually? -3 places, yeah, so not super accurate, but it was wet quality, a bit of an anomaly. Let's pick Baku as another random one, 8th, and it also dropped 3, but I'm not super accurate at Baku. But across the season, Lando Norris and Ricciardo, you can see 1.1, like very, very accurate. So bear in mind, you don't have to necessarily work this out and work out all these rankings. Like I say, we'll post them on YouTube, but if you can't be bothered to look at my YouTube or you can't be bothered to work out yourself, do bear in mind, when you see Lando Norris do very well across all 3 practice sessions, it's very, very likely, looking at how it's developed so far this season, it's very likely he is going to be a good pick for the race. So yeah, bear that in mind. Other sort of trends I've seen at the beginning of the season, Mercedes was shockingly hard to pick out, but now they're a lot closer. Now they've had their upgrades and they're starting to improve. We can see that they're a lot closer. Let's just pick some random races as an example. Monaco, Lewis Hamilton P8 to P8. Where's George Russell? P7 to P6. Let's scroll across. Baku, Russell goes from P7 to P5. Hamilton, quite an improvement actually, from 10 to 7. Let's pick another random one. These are both wet quality, so not sure how accurate they are. We can have a look at them anyway. We've got Silverstone. Hamilton went from P3 to P5, and Russell went from P7 to P8. So pretty close. And we compare it to the beginning of the season, like Bahrain. George Russell P4 all the way down to P9. Hamilton P7 all the way down to... I say down, up to P5. I'm thinking of Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia was a complete mess if you think back to it. We had Hamilton in P8 all the way down to P16. Didn't even get out of Q1 if I remember correctly, shocking. And then Russell going in the other direction due to setup changes, P10 all the way up to P6. So they were really, really all over the place and unpredictable at the beginning of the season. But we're starting to see Mercedes are starting to get a lot more predictable. And we should start seeing them qualify pretty consistently, in that 4th, 5th, 6th position, I would say. As long as they continue in their trajectory, and maybe they'll start fighting for the front rows soon. They're close to it. Who else can we look at? We can look at Stroll. Stroll's a really interesting one. If we look at Stroll's average delta here, 5. His average delta is 5, which is the least accurate out of everyone. So you're probably thinking, oh, Stroll, he's just unpredictable. But actually, he's remarkably predictable despite being the worst average down here. If we look at what's happening to Stroll, he cannot qualify at all. He's got the good race pace. He has Aston Martin's reasonable race pace, and that's why, in fact, let's quickly stroll across. Oh, I've done it again. I'm on the wrong bit of the... If we go across here, we look at Lance Stroll down here. Here he is in column down here. Including sprints, 80 points gained. 80 points gained from positions gained. So obviously he's not qualifying well, and he keeps jumping. He's accumulating a lot of points in that respect. It's almost double the next driver, which is George Russell at 44 points. It's kind of insane. Let's go back to this again just to show you what I mean. Lance Stroll, let's just pick a few random races. Bahrain, P12 goes all the way down to P19. Saudi Arabia, P12 goes down to P15. Let's scroll across to some random ones. Miami. Miami was an exception. I do remember. He was P18 and actually put it up into Q3. So that's an anomaly for me. because if we look at the other races, Stroll P16 drops it down to P18. Stroll P16 drops it down to P18 again, dropping. Great Britain 12 puts it down to last on the grid. Stroll P12 puts it down to 18. We'll take one more as an example. Baku P14 drops it down to P19. He is consistently, apart from that random one in Miami, seems very consistently dropping. We can see it again up here, random one Australia. I can just see him there at the top of my screen, peeking out. P15 down to last on the grid. I think there might have been an issue in Australia, but regardless, he's consistently dropping down. So be a bit wary of Lance Stroll. If you see him like cropping up in like P5, P6 and in the qualifying sessions, just be like, ooh, is he actually going to make Q3? Don't get overexcited. So Stroll's an interesting one. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. Those are the kind of main ones I've picked out. The top drivers are generally pretty accurate, like the Red Bulls and the Ferraris, just because they're consistently in the top 4, so you never get really too much of an inaccurate reading from them. But the main takeaway from me is definitely Lando Norris. I think it's really useful for predicting where he's going to qualify. So yeah, let's move on, because I want to talk about the market briefly. And basically, it's been a bit of a circus, really, hasn't it? It's been an absolute nightmare. And lots of people, I get so many questions in the comments and on Twitter and everything, asking me, how do I increase my team value? The answer is, you get lucky, basically, to some extent. At the beginning of the season, I was working quite hard on trying to build my team value. I'm up to 107 exactly at the moment. But the trouble is, I don't think you can argue, if you're paying attention to what's going on in the prices, there is a hacker man. Someone has bought in, or using a bunch of bot accounts. I don't know what's going on, really. I don't know how he's doing it, but he's having a good old laugh. He's bought in a bunch of accounts to boost. In fact, let's have a look. If I come out of this, I can show you. Let's maximize this again. We're on to F1 Fantasy Tracker. Let's have a look at the sentiments live right now. We look what's going on here. Lando Norris is currently getting boosted by the hacker man, and you've seen the last 12 hours up 44%. Why? Lando Norris has done bang average for the last couple of races. There's no reason whatsoever for him to be going up, but he's shooting up. He's up to 92%. He's climbing massively throughout the day. There you can see Sainz seems to be boosting up a little bit. We can see that if you look at the constructors, the Williams are starting to drop. A couple of races ago, the Williams were soaring for the roof. They jumped like 0.7 in just like a couple of updates. And when I say a couple of updates, I mean basically I went to bed, and then when I woke up again a few hours later, they'd gone up 0.7 million. Like, they're getting boosted, they're getting dropped. The hacker man is boosting these constructors or the drivers up. He's getting all the value he can, and then he's just dumping them off the next race. So if you want to make value, you probably want to try and guess, see what he's doing, see who's getting boosted. At the moment, like I say, it is Lando Norris. If you want to jump on Lando Norris, maybe he'll continue to get boosted, but the hacker man's getting a bit more on the ball, and he's starting to like fake boost. So people are going up to like 98%, and then they're stalling or dropping back down again. So you might get caught out if you try and play this game, which is why for me, I'm not playing the game. I'm quite happy with my budget. 107 million. I think it's fine, and they can get a good team with that budget. So for me personally, unless I 100%, I'm never going 100%, unless I'm very close to knowing exactly what team I want, and I can free up a couple of substitutions to play around and try and gain some value. Unless that is possible, I'm just not using my substitutions until the last moment after FP3, because it's just not worth it. It's just too unpredictable. I'm quite happy to just kind of pick who I think the best drivers are with my current budget. As long as Hackerman doesn't start dropping all my assets and I lose all my budget and suddenly I can't get to the next team for the next race week, then I'm not playing the game, Mr. Hackerman. If you're out there watching this video, I'm not playing your game. I'm playing my own game. So yeah, it's just a bit of a mess, and unfortunately it's kind of taken away some of the fun element of me playing the game. It is quite a big element of the game, especially last year, trying to grow the budget and everything. But this year, I'm just trying to kind of stay clear of it, not pay too much attention, keep an eye on it to see, what's going on, see if I can drop on, try and climb up a little bit of value. But, all in all, I'm just kind of staying clear of it, and I'd probably advise you to do the same unless you're desperately trying to get budget. If you've got a similar budget to me, I wouldn't worry about it too much. I think this budget's kind of fine. So yeah, I'm not going to say anything else on the market because it's just a complete mess the entire season. I wish Play On, the people down here, you can see they're powered by Play On. I was like, do something about the hacker man. I think they've tried. They seem to have frozen the market a few times. They haven't communicated with us. We don't know what's going on really. We can all assume there's a hacker man, and there almost certainly is, but maybe Play On are just making like a massive joke. There's someone sat in the Play On offices just like, they think there's a hacker man, but it's actually just me. But yeah, it's a mess. If you've got a good budget, stick with it. If you've not got a good budget, then maybe try and jump on the hacker man pumps and dumps. But yeah. So we're going to finish off with Twitter questions because that's what we do. You can see here, question time. I'll be recording a review, which is what I'm doing right now. Send in your questions. So that's what a few of you have done. Not many questions this week, but I'll try and answer what I've got so far. Thank you very much to everyone that has already thrown in the questions, and I'm going to do my best to answer them. The first one is from Ian Morris. Thank you very much. Which strategy garners more points? Garners, great word. Homework for everyone this week. Try and use garners when you're at work, just for a laugh. Just like throw it into a sentence. Which strategy garners more points? Love it. A team with the drivers that most often finish first, second, and third, plus 2 budgets. By that, I assume you're kind of thinking Red Bull and Ferrari plus like Haas and a Williams driver or something like that. All the drivers that most often finish second, third, fourth, and fifth, plus 1 budget. I don't know if you can even afford the drivers that finish second, third, fourth, and fifth and a budget, to be honest. I would say that, in fact, let's have a quick look at the spreadsheet just to back up what I'm about to say. That F1 Fantasy is very top heavy. Look at the points per race here. Look at how much dark blue is at the top. Verstappen, Leclerc, who are consistently winning the races, are getting the big points. The big constructor points as well, coming for the people that are winning the races. So I think maximising whoever's going to win the race, for me, is definitely the best option. Having 2 the budget drivers, the budget options are good. Like the Haas are on the rise. I've already said it earlier on in this video. The Williams drivers are fine. They're kind of not qualifying well, gain a few positions as long as they don't DNF. They're fine. The budget options are fine. So if you need to squeeze in 2 budget options in order to get the Ferraris and Red Bulls kind of maxed out, I think that's probably the best option rather than trying to like go sort of that midway point if you can. So yeah, I'd say the first option to answer your question. Thank you very much. F1 Fantasy Tips, thank you very much for your question. How much weight do you put into drivers' past performances at specific circuits? Very interesting question. Thank you. A lot, I would say. I don't know if everyone has probably had their own opinions on this, but for my opinion is I do put quite a lot of weight on. I want to refer back to a couple of races that have already happened this year. For example, Vettel at Baku, amazing record there. He finished P6, I believe, in Baku this year. Lando Norris, amazing around Austria, and he's even said himself in an interview like going into Austria that he loves the circuit and he feels it suits his driving style. He likes the high speed corners. I think there are definitely tracks that suit certain driving styles, like I've just said, Norris and his high speed corners and that. I definitely think that going into races, I would weigh that quite heavily into my answer. And last year when I was playing one of my mega drivers, I put the mega driver on Max Verstappen in Zandvoort just because I was convinced that he was going to do well around Zandvoort, that home race and everything. I just thought it suits him perfectly. Like he's going to do well at Zandvoort. He wasn't on a streak. It wasn't a sprint race. I just had a gut feeling that he's going to do really well. So yeah, I put my mega driver. That's a big chip to use. I used my mega driver on the fact that I just thought Verstappen was going to do really well in his home race, and arguably he might be doing that again this year. We'll see in a minute when I get to one of the questions down here. But yeah, I do think certainly there are some drivers that, and we saw it in, like, for example, Leclerc around Monaco. Everyone was petrified to put Leclerc in on Monaco or turbo driving in Monaco or whatever. He came fourth. He actually finished the race finally. But yeah, there is definitely some sort of history that goes on with certain drivers at certain tracks, and certain drivers are certainly specifically very good at certain tracks, which again, the mega driver of Verstappen on Austria, one of the reasons why I went for it, I felt so strongly about it, not only because it's a sprint race, but I thought Verstappen and Red Bull themselves were just going to be really good around Austria, so that's why I held out into Austria, and it paid off pretty well. So yeah, to answer your questions, a lot of weight. Evan, thank you very much. What are your thoughts on Ferrari for the rest of the season? I kind of touched on that quite heavily at the beginning, the first part of this video, but I'm going to try and answer anyway. I don't think there's any reason to go with them as a constructor. Strong words here from Evan, unless they make significant reliability upgrades. Yep, definitely agree about the reliability. Continue to roster Leclerc. Not sure if Sainz is worth a spot. Interested in your thoughts. Yep, I agree to a certain extent. I do think that, I don't know, it's difficult because, like I said earlier on in the video, that Ferrari do make up for their DNFs. We've seen it in their points across the season. They're still the best value team for their price. Like, they enable you to, especially if you haven't got the budget, They enable you to like get those better drivers just by having them instead of Red Bull. I would be hesitant to go like triple Ferrari as an example. If I was going to go Ferrari, I'd probably do something like Ferrari constructor plus Leclerc. I wouldn't necessarily also pick Sainz, or I'd have Red Bull as constructor, then have Sainz and Leclerc as individual drivers potentially. But I'd be very hesitant to go with them as like a triple up. I've already said as a constructor, I still think Red Bull are my favourite, but I wouldn't rule out Ferrari for sure. And I think given the fact that the DNFs hurt at the time, but across the season, like averaging out, the Ferraris, you can't predict the reliability of an engine blowing up basically. So across the season, the Ferraris are still going to offer that great value. And if you just stick with them, like basically don't move them at all, just stick Ferrari in as your constructor, I think you'll reap the benefits. But if you're going to keep switching between Red Bull and Ferrari, I think occasionally you're just going to get hurt. You'll be like, oh, why did I just stick with Red Bull? Why did I switch it to Ferrari? But if you just stick with Ferrari as constructor through the season, then arguably it's going to average out and you're going to get, going to get a good score at the end of the season. So I think it's kind of fine to go one way or the other. I'm not going to try to say your names, too many letters. I miss using my first Mega Drive in Austria. Ouch, slept during the deadline. Naughty, naughty manager. When can I use it next before it expires? Please reply, Poppan Man. Okay, I'm replying right now. I'll also reply on Twitter if you wish me to. It is 2 more races, basically. You've got France, Hungary, and then that's it. Gone. Even though it doesn't say that in the rules, lots of other people in the community that I've heard from or commented on my videos have said it is definitely Hungary, so I'm taking their word for it because I couldn't see it in the rules anywhere, but I'm going to say Hungary. Max Verstappen, top tip here, Max Verstappen may be on a race streak going into Hungary, which is the last chance to use it, which is probably the best. That's probably the best last chance. If you still got your Mega Driver, I would say probably wait for Hungary basically and stick on Max Verstappen. It's your best bet. And when is the best time to use a Mega Driver? In the next half of the season. Oh my goodness, there's so much to think about, which is why I've already got up what's going on in the next half of the season. We've got France up next. I think there's a couple of options that strike me initially. Well, there's 2 options plus a third option, which is just too unknown at the moment. One option is the Netherlands. I said already last season I put it on Max Verstappen in the Netherlands. Sorry, I just got massively distracted by a gust of wind like blowing on my door randomly. So yeah, Max Verstappen in the Netherlands, home race, just orange smoke everywhere. How can Max Verstappen not possibly win? And this year, as long as he qualifies well in France, Hungary and Belgium, he will be on a qualifying streak going into the Netherlands. So, that's an extra 5 points, tripled up with a Mega Driver, that's 15 points. I think there's a perfectly good reason to put the Mega Driver on Max in the Netherlands. It's not necessarily like getting the highest ceiling for a Mega Driver, but like I said last year, I didn't even have any quality streaks or anything, and I just stuck it on him because I was sure he was going to win the race, and he did. So yeah, I do think the Netherlands is definitely an option. Second after that would definitely be Brazil, because Brazil is the one and only remaining sprint race of the season. We've seen the sprint. What happens in sprint races? Everyone just gets more points, basically. That's why I waited for Austria on this occasion. When Max Verstappen paid off, I do think waiting for Brazil could definitely pay off, and that's most likely what I'm going to do, I would say. Although it's kind of tempting with the Netherlands, I do think that Brazil is probably the best option, and there's also the possibility that you might be able to double up sprint points and streak points. So you could, get race streaks or qualifying streaks on top of sprint, and then you triple that. That's massively maximizing. So I do think Brazil is probably the best option for the second half of the season. You could argue any other race basically, as long as someone like Max Verstappen or Leclerc or whoever you want to Mega Drive is on like a double streak. If someone's on a quali and a race streak on, say, Mexico for example, then go for it. They're on that double streak and they could get the points. But for me personally, I'm probably going to be holding out for Brazil, but that is a long way away. It's November. Can I hold out that long? We'll see. But yeah, to answer your question, probably Brazil. And that's pretty much it. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. That's kind of my mid-season review. It feels like I've been talking for absolutely ever. If you made it this far in this video, thank you very much. And yeah, I'll be back in a few days' time for my team selection video for France, which is going to be a really interesting one because there are, as always, 2 or 3 different builds that I'm currently thinking of. And it's going to be really interesting to sort of see as we get a bit more news about updates and everything as to who I'm going to pick. So yeah, stay tuned. In a few days' time, I'll be uploading that. So thanks very much for watching. I'll be back soon. Bye-bye.